I'd like to call to order the regular Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, January 6th. Can I please have everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can have a roll call, please.
Bellinger.
Present.
Panganis. Mannion.
Present.
Poole.
Present.
Ludwig.
Present.
Markstrom.
Here.
Good.
Present.
All right, and I believe Mr. Panganis let us know ahead of time that he was not going to make it. Can I get a motion to excuse Mr. Panganis?
So moved.
I have a motion, support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. It's up on the board. We all have a copy. Is there any modifications? If not, can I please have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Support.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, next thing is our audience participation. Maximum 5 minutes per discussion item. There is a sign-in sheet. I saw a lot of people signing in. If you wish to speak, please make sure your name's on there. It's easier for us to keep track and record of anything that gets discussed. So I'll probably just work my way from front to back. Makes it easier that way. So I guess with that, anybody in the first row wish to speak? Okay. Second row. Anybody in the second row? Third row? Fourth row? Yes, go ahead. Please state your name and your address, if you please.
My name is Deborah Verone. I live at 1302 James Avenue in Williamston Township. I'm here tonight because you're going to discuss data centers, and I'm very happy you want to discuss it and think about possibly having one or not having one and planning it. I was in Mason last night. It was standing room only, and the citizens of Mason are irate and very, very unhappy with the idea of a data center possibly being put in Mason. One reason we live in a smaller town is we like that small town feel. We like the rural elements, and I would hate to see that destroyed with a data center. I've lived in Williamston long enough to remember when Wheatfield Township was annexed and that industrial park was put in with the promise of lower taxes and helping the school, and I don't think it's done that. It became kind of an eyesore. I feel sorry for those people on Putnam that live right in front of it. There's so much to consider with a data center. We have to consider our water quality, what's going to happen to the amount of water they use, the electrical. I had my power go out 4 times last week. It constantly goes out here in Williamston. They've done little to nothing to improve the grid, yet a data center may use electrical that powers up to 1 million homes. How are they going to, if we put one here, how are they going to generate that power, and how is it not going to affect us? Also, the noise level, if you live within 5 miles of a data center, the noise level is almost intolerable. If you happen to live really close, you don't need to turn your lights on at night because it's so bright it will light up your entire house. So I would hope if you would consider it, you would consider the environmental factors, the health factors, how it will hurt or benefit the residents of Williamston City and the surrounding townships, because it can go in a 5-mile radius. So that's why I'm here tonight, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? Yes.
Good evening, I'm Ann Fitzgerald. I live at 56 East Newman Road in Williamston Township, and I'm also here about the data center. I have a typed up thing I can just give to you, but my concerns are about electrical consumption, water for cooling, how many permanent jobs will exist after construction is completed, what backup systems are used, would diesel generators be used, will water and energy be publicly recorded, water and energy use, and then the last topic is infrastructure. Just so many things to consider, and in addition to what this lady already said.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? If not, I'll jump to the back row. Okay. Oh, yeah, go, yep, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amy Fusco. I just wanted to
I'm sorry, can you state your name and address? I mean, your address, please?
127 McCormick Street.
Thank you.
I wanted to echo what was said, and it was said before I opened than I can. But it seems like there are a ton of risks for potentially very little long-term reward of very few jobs, and there's no guarantee those, 8 or 10 people even live in Williamston anyway. We'd be bearing a ton of risk for potentially practically no reward.
Thank you. For those of you that just came in, we're going through public comment right now. You have up to 5 minutes to speak on anything. So for those of you that are standing, you're welcome to state your name and address and your discussion item.
Sure, am I good?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, my name's Charles Nolan, 526 Cedar Ridge Drive. I've got a little bit of notes here. It's probably mostly the same everyone else has said, but since I walked in late, I'll add a little bit. One thing too is I think that this AI thing is kind of a bubble and it's going to burst. And if the data center does get built, what's going to happen after that? Right now, for the most part, all this AI stuff is not profitable, and companies are dumping more and more into it in the hopes that it becomes profitable. And what if it doesn't? And I'd also like to echo, the environmental impacts and the fact that there will be a lot of construction jobs for a short period of time, but after then, you're not looking at a ton of full-time employees apart from a few maintenance people. And I understand you can't prevent landowners from selling to data centers if they wish to do it, but I just ask that if you do, you think about maybe making some ordinances or regulating that in some way so that they don't have a huge impact on the environment and relatedly our utility bills. That's really all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else that walked in there would like to speak? Okay, go ahead, please.
Thanks for development. I live at 33-1 Raleigh. Probably echoing everything that's already been said about the data center stuff. My bigger concern is about this grid that's coming in to support the data center. It's not going to help us with our power bills. That energy is dedicated to the data centers. If you read the filings on MPSC, it's pretty clear where that stuff goes. I would request that Williamston work with the MPSC as best they can. I know the MPSC has some authority on this stuff about getting this diverted away from houses, away from town more. This is literally going in my backyard, like on my property, wiping out half my lot. I'd really love for this not to do that. Use more vacant land, get away from people, especially for the environmental concerns of it, and be more respectful of landowners that you have. Furthermore, the job part, those jobs aren't permanent. Those jobs are temporary. Those guys move with jobs. So I just, a little more critical examination of what they want to do, and support our landowners that we have here. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else that came in? Yes.
Yes, please. Andrew Mason, I live at 1030 Germany, and I echo the same concern about the power towers going in out there. They're going to be an eyesore. We're going to have flashing red lights all along that corridor. At nighttime, it's going to disrupt the sky. It's going to mar our views all around the area. I think it would be a sacrifice that is unnecessary. So I know there's limited control that this board has over that effort, but anything that we can do to express our concerns over that development, I would be fully in support of it for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Susan Sturak. I live at 3370 Center Road. Last weekend I did a little poking around just to talk about this AI bubble and the reality of it. This you can check this. It's called "This Is a Bubble." It's from even Gorlick in the New York Times. 80% of the gains in the United States stock market last year were from AI investments, and up to this point, that's like 7 major donors back that. Who's concerned that the AI is in fact going to produce money for itself, because it hasn't this year. Who's concerned? People like Bezos, Altman, Diamond, Solomon. All of those financial big-time investors are like, best we're gonna give you is 50-50, that we're not gonna go into an inflation status, because will this make? Maybe. What do they need? They need chips, data, and they need power. Well, this is where it gets local, because they need a data center and the power that comes from that. So I'm saying that I'm not 100% sure that we aren't gonna see increase in our taxes, because the money for the people to come in to create that data center came from that huge corporate backing. Okay, it's a cash cow for them. But we're like the end of the line as a small town to say, do you want to put this stuff here? And the answer is a strong maybe. I think all of the things that have been mentioned, I second. But I would also like to say, even if you're satisfied somehow with that, I think the timing for this is terrible. I think right now we have homes and families in this community, which is a small, wonderful community, are dealing with a recent bill for hospital care that's just absolutely knocking them off center because they're not going to get the funds. We have an increase in everything we buy, and now are we going to have an increase in taxes? And we can't shoulder that. We can't do that. So I think there needs to be an absolute rock bottom solution and solid answer to say, no, this is absolutely, there is not going to be an increase in taxes, and that's the least of it. You can tell by reading the Williamston Facebook page, we have many citizens in this community that think it's going to, now we aren't going to have the power outages because we're going to get the power. That is not true. That is not true. I just saw in one of your printouts here that it says this thing has as much energy to power the city of Chicago. Well, don't read that as saying, therefore, little old Williamston's going to get the power, because it's not. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
My name is Karen Mason, and I've lived here for 20 years.
Can you give your address, please?
1030 Germany. I don't think we need a data center. I think that it's not going to give our community anything. It's only going to take away land resources, energy resources. Could affect groundwater and well water. It could potentially have some biohazards involved, and it would just negatively affect our whole community. And if anybody wanted to get away from that and move, they wouldn't be able to sell the property, because no one would want to move in with a data center right there, right next to a data center. It could even affect future businesses, because they're not going to want to come into a town that's not thriving, where people are leaving because of that huge data center. So I would say that I think a lot of us would say that we don't need the data center, and we would vote no for that.
Okay, thank you. Last call, yes, go ahead.
Eric Fink, 4189 Benetta Road. I was doing a little bit of research myself. Just your average data center will use anywhere around 300,000 gallons a day. A large one uses 5 million. The shop I used to work at, actually still part-time, we used to do well maintenance pretty regularly. Kept track of where the wellhead was, what the depth of the water was. And we noticed as soon as that the city wells went in on the other side of the freeway from us, our water dropped about 12 to 14 feet at that time. I hate to imagine what's going to happen to the water table, and how many people's wells are going to go dry if some of this goes in. You got to dig a new well. How much deeper you got to go? Well, you better go pretty deep, because they're sucking it out fast. So that, and again, just a second, what other people are saying, whatever benefits come to Williamston will be very short-lived, because as soon as the construction guys go, the guys that stay are probably not gonna live in Williamston. So there is no upside to Williamston. There's only downside. Very short amount of time, restaurants might be helped, for construction guys coming in, but that's gonna be it. So, I think it's a really bad idea. It doesn't fit.
Thank you. All right, yeah, go ahead.
My name is Barb Mooney, I live at 651 North Putnam Street. My question is, tell me the process. This is a discussion tonight. At what point do you make a decision? And the decision you make would go to the council for action, is that correct?
We can get into that once we get to that agenda item, and so I can't really banter right now, so,
Okay.
thank you. All right, last call for any public comment. All right, thank you very much for all the comments. We'll close that one. We have one later on at the end. Next on our agenda is actually the approval of our meeting minutes from our December 2nd, 2025 meeting. I look for a motion to approve if no comments.
Motion to approve, as submitted.
Have a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll support.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, now down to our action items. We have two on our agenda tonight. One is the master plan, and the second one is to update our meeting dates for 2026. Even though we approved them once, we have a modification we have to do. So let's start with our master plan. Are you gonna?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're at the step, we've been working on the master plan for over a year now. We've had public input, we've had two different joint meetings with council and DDA to discuss the draft text. So we're at a point where we've had the draft has been reviewed by the planning commission at both the November and December meetings, and then we had the opportunity over the last month or so to look at it again. There were some technical edits that were done based on some of those comments. So we're at a point that it's time for the planning commission to recommend the draft, final draft to the city council for their review. What happens from then is the council, so the draft is sent to the surrounding entities, and it's the fire authority, the surrounding townships, et cetera. And then there's a 63-day public comment period to provide feedback. Then after that comment ends, Planning Commission holds at least one public hearing with a newspaper, the standard publishing of 15 days. And then ultimately, the Planning Commission would adopt by majority resolution of the document. But within that step, when it is sent to the City Council has to approve the draft to be submitted to the surrounding entities. So assuming that you approve the draft, and it is a draft, it's not final, and it's not the zoning ordinance, and we'll make that differentiation here in a second. Assuming you make that action tonight, it'd go to council at their second meeting in January, which would be the 26th, I believe. January 26th. I'm pretty sure that's right.
It's the last Thursday of the month, right?
Yes.
And then council would take action on that, or they could decide they wanted to have, a longer review for some finer points in the draft. So McKenna's here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the draft, but again, it's not the final adoption of the plan. One of the piece, and we talked about this in the time that I've been here, is linking up the ordinance to the master plan. And that'll be part of the discussion when we get into data centers about making sure that we have an ordinance that is consistent with what we want to see in the master plan. And we have made some technical changes in the last year with the Williamston Road overlay, effectively eliminating drive-throughs along the corridor north of Lynn Road to roughly the industrial park. That's just an example. So again, happy to answer any questions you may have, and McKenna's here as well.
McKenna, do you have anything else to add to what was mentioned so far?
Evening, Laura Harwood, McKenna. Just that, the Planning Commission has been diligently, you've been working on this for quite a few months now, and the most recent additions that we haven't discussed start on page 69. It's the strategic action plan. That's new since you last reviewed it earlier in December. And we have discussed the action plan before, you just haven't seen it in this format. One important thing to note is that the action plan is broken out by the most important projects, priority level A, and then following priority level B and then C. So that hierarchy should kind of help guide you over the next couple years to really focus on the top priority projects. Also listed on each of those pages are a series of zoning ordinance text amendments that really are needed at that stage in order to keep the plan moving forward. If you have any changes though to this, we're happy to incorporate them, and as John said, this is still a draft. It needs to go through the 63-day public distribution and comment period where it will be available on the city's website and also here at City Hall.
Any questions for staff or McKenna? So just procedurally, if we, we have sent to council, right? But if something comes up and it's a minor tweak of text, we can continue the 63 days, right?
Correct.
If it's a major revision, which I hope we don't have, then we gotta bring it back and start over again, right? So we still have a little bit of time, public has time to ask any miscellaneous comments, correct? Am I stating that
That's
correctly?
correct.
Yep. So with that, I guess, is our action tonight to move this to recommend approval, or recommend moving this to council, is that what it is?
That's correct.
Yep. So,
I have a question.
sure, go ahead.
I'm looking at the responsible project leads and key partners and see our Economic Development Corporation listed as one key partner. Not seeing them, unless I'm missing it, anywhere in these priority level projects. I am seeing the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Is it safe to assume that anywhere MEDC is listed, we should also include our city's Economic Development Corporation?
Yes, we can add that for sure.
Great.
Any other comments regarding the plan as we have it submitted in front of us? Again, it's still in a draft final, I guess is a good way to put it, right? We're almost there, but it's not quite there.
With the friendly amendment provided now with Mr. Good, I would make a motion to refer to council. The draft was as submitted as amended. No support.
We have a motion of support to move this plan forward to council. Roll call. Barb, please.
Good.
Yes.
Lanyon.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Markstrom.
Yes. Okay, motion has been approved, so the next step is gonna be at the council meeting on the 26th, you said, I think it was? So, okay. Next on our agenda is a consideration of new meeting dates for our 2026. We approved this a couple of months ago, I believe, but due to a notice the city received from the county, there's an election, I think, on one of our nights. Is that exactly what happened? So we need to, I can't find it, so we need to reapprove our meeting dates.
It's the
And
very last page.
The only one that changed would be the May 7th.
yes,
It was May 5th, and then we're moving it to May 7th on a Thursday because of the election.
so with that, I need to get a motion to accept the meeting dates as revised.
So proposed.
Motion and support. Is this roll call also? Can I get a roll call, please?
Ludwig.
Yes.
Lanyon.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Markstrom.
Yes. All right, our meeting dates have been updated. There's just the one change as referenced. So that takes care of all of our action items for tonight. The next one actually is a discussion item, and I think maybe we can get some clarification, but there is nothing in front of us at the moment. We are just being proactive, right? And that's a good way to put it, so feel free to chime in there, so.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been doing this for 30 years, and there's not a singular issue in Michigan that I can remember that has this level of interest in import to the residents of our state. We currently, in our zoning ordinance, is largely silent on anything that would resemble a data center, and so lack of an ordinance, it's subject to interpretation, so it could be a warehouse or something like that. So first off the bat, I'm going to be recommending to our city council that we establish a 6-month moratorium so that we can effectively make sure that we adopt an ordinance that is as protectionary as possible under the law. I did include, and we've got some handouts over there, if we ran out of, any folks want some, we'll make sure this is on our website as part of the packet, but this is really just a starting point for us since we haven't discussed this at all as a planning commission, and typically these issues tend to come home, our neighboring communities, Howell not really neighboring, but close enough, and Mason's certainly a neighbor and a lot of commonalities. So these are just some thoughts to kind of the basis of our discussions for an ordinance. We want to be absolutely sure that we have the most and highest buffer standards, operational standards. But if you look at that fourth bullet point, local governments must ensure they provide some land where data centers can operate. Courts have sided with developers, Saline Township, where denials were deemed exclusionary. One of the advantages that we have for us and a disadvantage, and this is in the city, I know a lot of the public comments were folks in the township, and I encourage you to talk to, most of you are from Williamston Township, you should talk to your township board about what they're doing, because the landmass is not in the city limit. We have one large property just north of 96 that's on the west side of the road. 90% of that is zoned rural residential, so it's really not a candidate for any kind of rezoning. Doesn't mean someone can't ask. It's not in the master plan. That's planned as residential, and I don't see any of that changing in the future land use. So we don't really have a landmass for a data center, but some have been proposed, but be that as it may, we still need to have an ordinance that we can operate under. Without, then we're subject to an interpretation, and I don't think anybody wants that. So one thing I did include, again, these are just some common things. None of this is like super original, but it's there just from data collected. Sparta is a village on the west side of the state, and this is a ordinance that they are contemplating. I believe they just adopted it at one of their most recent meetings, or at least the first reading. And this is their take on it. I think this is frankly way too, it's not restrictive enough in my opinion, but it does contemplate a lot of things that we'll be talking about. And they have a targeted location, but as I said, we don't have any sites anywhere near. I'm not familiar with Sparta other than the name of it, and I know where it is generally. So they have some rodeo grounds apparently that's they're going to allow for zoning. Maybe the most common corollary from a zoning perspective is mobile home parks or manufactured housing, and every community has to have a portion of their community that is zoned for that, and we actually have a couple. It's sort of my preamble, but again, I'm going to be recommending to our council that we have a 6-month moratorium so that we can have an ordinance that can be as protective as our community as possible. One other limiting factor that we have is our water and sewer infrastructure. It's plenty adequate for our current residents and businesses, and with some slow managed growth over time. But to give you an idea of the scope, our wastewater plant is only permitted up to about 0.72 million gallons per day. So, and that's used up, 2/3 of that is used by the people that are already here. So there's not a lot of available capacity. So there's some capacity for additional housing or additional standard businesses, but nothing even close to the magnitude of a million gallons per day or even 500,000 gallons per day. So that's a limiting factor from our infrastructure to be able to provide that. One last thing, there was some comments about infrastructure going in and around Williamston, the Highline infrastructure. Again, none of that is specifically in the city limit, so folks, I encourage you to talk to your township. Our county commissioner, Monica Schaefer, is sitting right there. She came in, and she found a seat, so good for her. So I know that she's profoundly interested in that. My understanding, ITC is having a series of public meetings coming up, and so I'd encourage you to attend those as well. But again, that's all of that is in townships, and it's not driven by the city. So I've done a lot of talking, so I'll shut up and take any comments from all of you. And I don't know if our planners, they did provide a bunch of information. I think you've got it. And again, I can make sure this is available on our website. It's a lot of different zoning practices. Some of it I think is pretty good. Some of it is kind of like standard language. It's not McKenna's fault. They just did the research. But one thing I want to point out in particular, down in that stack somewhere, the Washtenaw County, the sample ordinances, I think that's also a good starting point. A lot of the data centers recently, Saline Township's in Washtenaw County. There's another one just outside of Milan that is also being proposed. So that's all I have on that subject.
So any questions regarding kind of where we're going with this at the moment?
Well, so I guess for clarification, I know, but is that when we're talking about moratoriums, legally we cannot have a infinite moratorium on anything. That would get struck down by courts. However, we are legally allowed, as the city manager is seeking to propose to city council, a moratorium dependent on a standard and a time limit. And so I think that it would be completely reasonable for us, as we don't have anything currently and it's silent, to take a hard look at what the ordinance should look like to make sure that we don't end up in a situation where we're hamstrung and have to have something that we all don't want here. And now can't physically with our infrastructure handle. So I think that's a great idea, to be able to give us the time and the breathing room, because as we've seen from our surrounding communities, they're being surprised by some of these requests. So I'm glad that this was brought up. I'm glad that it was on the docket so that we can get started and make sure that, for once we're proactive and have the tools available to do what we need to do. So thank you for bringing it up and being prepared.
Any other questions, comments? I have, with the business I work in, I actually reached out to our group and I was asking them about some of the comments you sent today, and they thought it was awesome. But some of the stuff that you provided as information for us. But one of the other things that they mentioned too to me is like, if we're looking at data centers as a no, maybe we should look at other places, like other things like mining centers, the Bitcoin mining and stuff, and try to make sure we're covering all of those type of uses if we're looking at an ordinance. And that's something we get into as we go further, but it's just something like that. So
yeah, and I'd be remiss not to mention temporary data centers or battery backups and shipping containers. I mean, all of those things have proliferated really throughout the country. It's not just Michigan. So we have to be mindful of all those things. That's all the more reason that and we have not received an application. Nobody's kicked the tires. Nobody's called me. But all the more reason that we have a moratorium, so we have the opportunity to study it. Because the profound difference is, if someone was to walk in an application for the February Planning Commission, which they could still do as long as they get the stuff here next week, we would be forced to review it under our existing zoning ordinance. So I think it's really critically important that the council adopt a moratorium. We do have a couple council members here tonight. Some of them are incognito, some of them are conspicuous, but thank you to them for showing up. So.
Would that recommendation go in front of the council at the January 26th meeting also? Is that the plan?
It will. There's some things I need to work with Mr. Perone on the specific language, but that gets us in plenty of time before it would be reviewed at a planning commission.
Yeah. And we've done ordinance revisions a lot, right? This is obviously creating almost a new one, but I guess my opinion, thoughts are 6 months seems like an adequate time for us to get through public comment and all the reviews. And wouldn't you think to develop an ordinance? Or modify?
Absolutely, and I also think it allows us somewhat the benefit of time. There are communities that are adopting ordinances, and there's going to be a whole strata, right? And some communities are going to be permissive, and some communities are be as restrictive as reasonably possible. So we get the advantage of, much like golf carts, we get the advantage of seeing what other ordinances are out there. So.
6 months is the July meeting.
Yeah.
So I mean that's.
Yeah. I think it's great that we're being proactive and just kind of looking at it, right? We got to see what we can do.
And when you think about it, just from the raw amount of text, it's not a lot of text. It's 2 pages, maybe several bullet points on each, but it's not a lot of text. So.
Do we know of neighboring municipalities that have passed ordinances or resolutions that address tax increases? Because at the state level last year, the Michigan legislature enacted policies that give data centers tax exemptions. And in all likelihood, that revenue will have to be supplemented somehow. Do we know of any municipalities that have put in those protections?
I'm going to defer to McKenna, but maybe it's a better question for Mr. Perone, because I don't know that you can contemplate taxation in your zoning or land use ordinance.
No.
Okay.
It's a separate issue.
Any other, McKenna, do you have anything to follow up on kind of the discussions we're having? So.
No, in agreement, moratorium's best way, gives us an opportunity to see what's best for the community from this ordinance.
And obviously, we're not taking any action, this is more of a discussion, right? So I think generally, are we getting a consensus that the planning commission is in agreement with that? I think we're, okay. Any other comments regarding that? Perfect. Thank you, appreciate that. No correspondence received, I do not believe, Barb, is that correct?
Correct.
And then, okay, so now we're down to staff reports. City manager, any project updates?
Yeah, the first thing I want to make a comment. I want to make a retraction of a statement I made at the November Planning Commission meeting. It might have just added to the confusion. I was trying to provide some clarity on the situation on Raleigh Road, and I made a comment that Scarlett Excavating had made some claims about the neighbors, specifically Mr. Keller, and I want to apologize to Mr. Keller and Ms. Matif for that confusion that happened, and so just want to make sure that folks don't put any weight to those comments. So that's first off the bat. Otherwise, the Raleigh Road project is underway, and then the Tailgaters project out by the highway is well underway. I see them here in the audience, but on the Tifa side of things, we're having a closing for the Tifa with the Codettes next week, so that's awesome. So that historic building will be preserved, so that's a great thing for the community. So that's all I have to add. I don't want to talk about the bridge that was out of commission for long because it's open. And it wasn't our bridge, and it wasn't our troll, but
It's nice to go straight through town.
Correct.
Straight to get the number.
So that's all I have to add today.
All right. Any questions for the city manager's report? Okay. With that, we have a second audience participation. Again, 5 minutes per discussion item. I will again start in the front row. Anybody wish to speak? I'll work my way back on kind of anything you want to bring up. Front row, good. Second row. Third row, go ahead. Yes. Yep, that's you. Yep.
I just, okay.
Oh.
Hi everybody, Monica Schaefer, your Ingham County Commissioner here. I come here tonight to get the feel, understand, kind of get the direction of with the data centers, which again, it's a local issue. We keep it at the local level with that. The county doesn't have any of that zoning area there, but with the lines. So, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking with you.
No, you're fine.
So,
we can hear you.
with the lines, I had a meeting yesterday with TCA about the actual lines and about the maps that they've been putting out. The information, I had about an hour and a half session with them. It was actually a great talk of understanding. The biggest thing is those maps that came out, that is just preliminary, and they're taking one route from point A to point B. And all those are different potential routes that they're looking at. This is a phase 2 out of about a phase 4. They're not taking anything final to the commission, the state commission, until probably like the end of 2026. But the biggest thing is advocacy. So you see all those different routes that are there. Our job as a community and as Williamstown Township, Locke and Leroy, I represent them all. I've contacted every supervisor, and every supervisor at their local county meetings coming up next week, they're going to be bringing in the representative, Ben Terrell, who is the representative for those lines. He is going to give a presentation to each board. So that will allow everybody in the community to come together to understand a little bit better about the project that is being proposed. And it will allow you to go to those listening sessions, not so much listening, but actually going as informed people that can ask questions and advocate for the different routes or the reasons why they shouldn't be a route that you don't like with that. So the biggest thing is the communication, and as a community, as the different counties come together, and I know this, we've already talked with John, this does not affect the city because it's not within the city limits of the actual lines running through. It's really with the townships, and he's 100% correct. Reach out to your township supervisor for an ordinance of what they should be working on. I think most of them are. I'm not speaking for them, but most of them are working on ordinances in their areas. But the line they're going to be bringing in, again, Ben Terrell from ITC, or ITC, the line that's doing it. It's basically a highway, but you have on-ramps and you have off-ramps. So it's the electrical line there. But so my job is communication. So I'm trying to bring in another line of communication that everybody can understand, And then they can take that to those listening sessions, and please go to the listening sessions to advocate. So, thank you so much for
Thank you.
the time, and, yeah, get with your own counties if you're part of them there. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Paul Boostrom, 3649 Moyer Road. My concerns are more, like when they sent out those notices about the lines, it was very vague. It seemed like there wasn't, you really had to drill it down to figure out where those places were to even get information. It just didn't feel right to me. It seemed almost like they were just trying to suppress the amount of public knowing with a minimum of notice. It's gone on in the past. Then, of course, there's the health ramifications, because the thing that they're never going to talk about are the high cancer rates among children who live under these high power lines. And there's a lot of places that they're talking about putting these high power lines that run right past houses that people bought, invested their money in, and then they're going to have these power lines come through there. And I don't know what that does for property values. I don't know what that does for the health of their family. And so all those things really need to be considered. And then it's kind of ironic they want to do all that when we have a power company, and it was stated by somebody here right in the beginning, the DTE doesn't even keep up on their infrastructure in the city. Now, how do I know that? I have to deal with them on a more personal basis than most people in this room. I've had to have conversations with the city engineer concerns about the safety of the city workers when they're working on these metal lines that are out in these streets. And what I suspect is going on, because I've tried to track this for 20 years and the power company is not honest, when these metal water lines are cut out, I believe they're cutting out swaths of grounding that this infrastructure is relying on that has now more power on it than it's ever had, and I don't believe they're upgrading any of that. And I've measured lethal voltage on the cold water grounds in this city for a long time and tried to bring this attention to the power company, who basically tries to just blow smoke at you. And it's always a little bit of hoodwinking, but there's something going on here. And it really should be addressed. And then to say, well, we're going to put in all these high power lines all over the place, but they're not going to deal with the problems we have in this city. And so that thing I'm talking about with the city workers cutting out the water pipe, well, they're replacing it with plastic. So they're cutting out swaths of grounding. Not that they're doing anything wrong, but what's the power company doing to compensate that? So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else in that row? Next row? Fourth row, I guess it is? And back row. Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, I may be overstepping, and I did not actually get the papers, so please forgive me if I'm incorrect on some things. It seems that part of the point of this meeting was to address regulations and how that might affect potential data centers going forward. I noticed that it said something about 75 decibels. That's the same, I looked up on my phone real quick. That's the same as running a vacuum cleaner, and that would be running 24/7. Servers don't shut down. So maybe something like a much lower decibel level, so people can actually sleep with their windows open from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And that would not affect pretty much any other business. And I don't know that most, you know, I'm just trying to think of something that, you know, because vacuum cleaner is not that loud until you're trying to sleep. And at 4 in the morning, that would get really, really, really awful. You know, I know, nobody likes the idea of regulating something out of existence, but if I could sleep at night, you know? Another thing might be, that I did not see on there at all, I mean, we've discussed, you know, the water and electricity at length, but there's also light pollution. You know, that is, from an environmental standpoint, and just being able to see the stars, that's a big deal, you know? If you require light shielding on, you know, buildings that are going to be operational at night above a certain, you know, luminosity. Again, but that wouldn't affect, like if a brewer wants to move in, that wouldn't affect them. If somebody wants to open up a mechanic shop, that wouldn't affect them. That would only affect these large data centers. So, it's just food for thought, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the last row?
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm Steve Smith, I'm from the Wheatfield Township. I'm here because I want to know what's going on. Every township, the city, everybody needs to know how we all feel about it. Just keep in mind, we can't tell these people no. If they want to buy something or do something, we'll lose if we fight no. We just make the restrictions and the requirements for the people high enough that they'll say it's not worth it. And we get a return on our investment. You guys are pretty safe here in the city. With the new power line coming through, what a great place to tap in. Wheatfield Township's pretty right. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else standing up? Okay, last call for anybody on public comment. Hearing none, I'll close the second public comment. And then, or audience consent, sorry. And then back to planning commission comments for the night. Anything? Starting out here? All good? All good?
I'm all good.
All good? Good? All good?
I'll just add that I'm feeling
Sure.
encouraged by our residents and neighbors. They came tonight and were very cordial and well-researched, and I think that their input's gonna be really important in this process.
Good.
And it's refreshing to see.
Good. My only comment is if we do have a meeting next month in February, sorry, I will not be here. I think I mentioned to you guys, so we'll see. I don't know if there's anything potentially on the agenda or not, but.
We'll make sure to assign you a lot of work.
You
then.
should then, yes. All right, with that, hearing nothing more, I will close the meeting at 6:47 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight.